make sure it's easy for them to cross-reference and get that information. You want to make it as easy as possible for this person that you are never going to meet to get the information they need to determine your worthiness for this loan.
I can see the whole wide world with these two eyes, and I can be whoever I want to be, 'cause it's my life.
Hi, thanks for joining us for another episode of Ask Spurrell CPA. Today, as the Edmonton Business Coach, we're talking about the business plan company overview section. I have Laura here with me today. Laura, how you doing?
Great.
Yeah. How's the schooling coming?
Pretty good.
Where are you now? How many courses you got left? Do you know?
Not too many left.
Yeah.
Finishing up the fourth year.
Yeah, fourth year. So you got the countdown going, number of courses. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So the quote that we have here today, it's a Robert Kiyosaki quote. Author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He wrote it with his accountant, by the way, Karen Lecter. But it says that good debt is a powerful tool, but bad debt can kill you. And Industry Canada tells us that 51% of small businesses seek external financing. And the story that we have here in terms of the company overview section is business owners, they're assembling a plan for the purposes of getting financing. However, they're not including some of the basic information that the lender will need before approving any loans. This causes the loans to get rejected or delayed, simply just because there's missing information. So Laura, what are the questions that these business owners should be asking?
Okay. Is it the banker you deal with or the loan underwriter that approves the loan?
So the problem is everyone, they think it's the banker. They're dealing with the banker all the time, but they don't realize is your banker, the one that you're dealing with, that commercial lender, is going to send it to an underwriter. And a lot of times, especially out west here, the underwriter is not even in the same side of the country as us. So it gets pushed out to an underwriter, and their job is to determine the risk of that loan and if it conforms to the bank's standards. And then they're going to communicate that back to the banker that you're actually dealing with. So the loan underwriter, not your banker, is the one who ultimately approves that loan.
Do you get to deal with the loan underwriter?
They do not. They have a stone wall between you and that loan underwriter. You think that you're dealing with the person. You think that you're dealing with the banker. But that banker is essentially the messenger in the whole equation. I mean, they have a knowledge, varying amounts of knowledge depending on the level of experience, but ultimately they're relaying that information and presenting that case in an organized fashion to the underwriter. And you don't get to deal with that underwriter, and that's by design because you shouldn't be able to influence the underwriter one way or the other.
Can the company overview section be used to get info to everyone efficiently?
Yeah, so when we're talking about a business plan, that company overview section, it can be used to get all of the information that you need, that critical basic company information. You can get it to everybody. It gets it to the banker, it gets it to the underwriter. This is going to prevent those, rejections or delays on just missing critical basic information.
Do you need to distinguish between legal names and trade names?
Yeah, so one of the things you should have in that company overview section is you want to distinguish between, it's ABC Corporation Limited, or oftentimes it's a numbered corporation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Alberta Limited, operating as, Smith & Jones Industries. So you want to be very specific and very precise about what the legal names are and what the trade names are, because they're going to do searches on everything. And if they're doing searches and it's not coming up with consistent information, that's a chance for a rejection or delay.
Will the lender need to know the ownership percentage for all corporations involved?
Yeah, they will. So they'll want to know the ownership percentage. So who are the shareholders? And if it's a multi-corporation structure, they're going to want to know the ownership percentages for every corporation in that structure. And you can better believe that they're going to cross-reference that against corporate registries. They're going to do the search and see who has the voting shares. Now, of course, the voting shares will appear on corporate registries. The non-voting shares won't. So sometimes there'll have to be some explanations surrounding that. But yeah, they're not going to lend money without knowing who owns these corporations.
Will the lender need to know the date of incorporation and year end?
Yeah, they're going to want to know when did this thing start? What's the date of incorporation? And what's the year end? Because that year end is probably going to have a reporting standard that comes with it, either notice to reader financial statements or maybe even reviewed financial statements that they're going to want. But yeah, 100%, there's going to be a request to know what the incorporation date and what the year end date is, and that you just put it right in the business plan in the company overview section.
Will the lender need to know the address, phone, email, and web address?
Yeah, here's like the basic things, and people think that doesn't matter, and they're life and death in these financing. They get the financing, the business works. They don't get the financing, their dreams are crushed, and they think, well, everyone knows my address, my phone number, my email. Maybe so. Hopefully the banker is passing it through the underwriter, but why take the chance? Put it in the company overview section and put the web address, because oftentimes the bankers have to do searches based on the individual that the business that they're potentially lending, to see if there's anything nefarious or anything bad going on that they wouldn't want to lend to this person. So make it easy for them to do the search that they need to do to check their boxes and lend you the money.
Will the lender want to know who the accountant for the corporation is?
It does. It speaks to the credibility of the business that's requesting money. Is this a business that's gone through the trouble and hired not just an accountant but an actual chartered professional accountant, a CPA, to do their financial reporting, or is this kind of the seat of their pants type of business that has never assembled annual financial statements? This loan underwriter's busy. They don't want it. It doesn't reflect favorably on them if they approve you for a loan and you end up defaulting on that loan. That's their job. So, make them take you seriously. Recognize that you do have professionals on your team.
Will the lender need to know who the lawyer for the corporation is?
Yeah, so also just to establish legitimacy, that is, to show that you actually do have a corporate lawyer who looks after your affairs. It can be helpful. But sometimes when it comes to the lawyers, they actually need a lawyer to act on your behalf to actually, get the loan documents executed. A lot of times they have to be executed through a lawyer's office. So why delay the process? Let's get the lawyer, front and ready on the company overview section of the business plan to prevent those delays or prevent rejections on basic missing information.
Will the lender sometimes need to know who the banking representative is?
Yeah, believe it or not, these banks are big, huge organizations, and sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and you don't want to make sure that you might have a banker who you deal with, and you might have so you have one that deals with your basic transactions, your accounts, and you have another banker that you're going through the loan application process with, and sometimes the underwriter is going to want to call on the person who's assigned to your banking file. Make sure it's easy for them to cross-reference and get that information. You want to make it as easy as possible for this person that you are never going to meet to get the information they need to determine your worthiness for this loan.
Will the lender need to know who the general insurance agent is?
Mm-hmm. A lot of times, one of the conditions for the financing of the loan will be that the business has the proper general liability insurance in place. The bank doesn't want to lend you this money one day and you get sued the next day, and now you default on this loan. So they want to know that you have the correct insurance in place. Send them the details for your insurance agent. Put it right on the business plan.
Will the lender need to know who the life and disability insurance agent is?
Yeah, this is another one of the critical ones, oftentimes one of the covenants. So we talk about covenants of a loan, and these are the list of requirements where the bank says, hey, we're going to give you this money, we're going to lend you this money, but you have to have these things in place. General liability will often be one of them. But often it's also life and or disability insurance for the business owner, or sometimes a key person in the organization. So they want to make sure that if the business owner, gets sick and all of a sudden that they can't work anymore, that cash flow stream is secured. So that business owner has a mechanism. They have disability insurance payments coming in that they can actually meet their loan obligations. And same things, life insurance. What if this person gets hit by a bus tomorrow? The bank doesn't want to make sure that they want to ensure that their loan, their $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million or $10 million isn't defaulted on simply because someone, isn't paying the $50 a month that they need for the term life policy that would get everyone covered off. And so they will look a lot of times that they have that disability insurance in place. And a lot of times in regards to life insurance, they'll want to ensure that the corporation is the beneficiary, or sometimes they'll get the assignment on the insurance directly to the bank in the event that something happens. So sometimes it's not just having the insurance in place overall, but it's actually having the right specifications of the insurance. Who is the beneficiary, who is the insurance policy assigned to, and along with the amounts as well.
Will the lender like to know who the benefit provider is? Yeah,
I mean, the benefit provider, it's good to put in the plan because it often it relates to the employees and making sure the employees have an incentive. That's the purpose of benefit plans, is to give them benefits in a tax efficient manner, paying for things like medical expenses and dental visits in a tax efficient manner. But often the owner's disability and or life insurance is intertwined with that benefit program. So sometimes they're not separable. Sometimes business owners will have a separate insurance for their life and disability and a separate benefit provider. But a lot of times it's one and the same, and the business owner is able to get a good rate because they go through that benefit provider. So if we're dealing with a lender and assembling a company overview section that going to make it as efficient as possible to extract the information they need to see if you qualify for this loan, put that benefit provider in there. Those would all be, recommendations of what I would like to have in the company overview section of the business plan. So I think that's what we have here today. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please hit that like and subscribe button so we can continue to deliver you tips on how to beat the odds at business. And as always, if you have any comments, we'd love to read them below so we can respond back and use your input for future videos. Thanks very much.